Right, it's 6 o'clock, and we'll call this meeting to order. Can we get a roll call?
Neil.
Here.
Jared.
Yes, here.
Derek. Yes. Katie.
Here.
Lane.
Here. All right, if you'll stand and join us for the flag salute and prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag Bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight and ask you to watch over us and be with us in this meeting as we make decisions about our kids and our staff and our community in order to provide a good future and a good foundation for our kids to be productive citizens in society when they move forward. And we ask that you just be with us and guide us and help us make the right decisions, and pray all these things in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
All right, no public. Part 2, no public participation, so we'll move on to item 3, presentations.
So Brenda, yep. Brenda's going to give us a curriculum update.
All right. Yeah, it's been a busy time coming up to the start of the year, and you all know we have spent a lot of money and resources on curriculum, so we thought it was time to give you a little bit of an update on kind of what our view is, what our vision is, and what we've been kind of up to. So, first of all, our big goal is that every student finishes every grade level with just what they need, knowledge and skills to be successful in the next grade. That's our big overarching goal. And our challenge is, how do we get every kid there? There's the big curriculum number, $841,851 and some cents. And we're still adding little bits and pieces to that. That's a lot of money. But we have invested heavily in our kids this year. Coming into this year, of course, Tommy. Well, it's all right. I got it. The math was the obvious one. Everybody knew it was an adoption year for math. So we adopted from kindergarten through to 12th grade curriculum for math. I don't know when the last time is that happened, but it's been a while if it happened. So we now have a solid research-based curriculum to give in our teachers' hands to help them to do the job that we ask them to do every day with our kids. So that is it's a spectacular investment, and thank you to you guys for supporting us on that. It was a lot of money. Reading, we have plugged some holes with reading, and we now have curriculum, and you'll see this in a minute, from pre-K through to 9th grade, and K through 9, the same curriculum, which is, just consolidates the learning. Then some other AP Psychology, Digital Photography, AP Environmental Science, pre-K curriculum for the first time, a specialist pre-K curriculum, and then we have an additional class down at Northwood that we've been kind of outfitting with all the stuff. So there's a huge investment, and you can see that we've done a lot with it. And the benefit of that is our students. All right. I wanted to hang a little bit on reading because reading underpins everything, and we've done some substantial work on trying to improve our reading all up. It's a 3-part plan. Firstly, build a solid foundation. What do we need with the littles to build a solid foundation for them to grow on? Addressing reading gaps early. I know that's always been a goal, but right now we have some reading gaps further up the chain, like at middle and high school, middle school particularly, and you'll see what we're going to do for those. So although that's not really early, it's as early as we've managed to catch it at the moment. So, and support and strengthen instruction. So those are the 3 parts to our reading plan. First of all, foundation. As mentioned before, our new pre-K curriculum, it's called Frog Street. It was an adoption year for pre-K this last year as well. So we are super excited, and I know Mrs. Carver is excited to get a pre-K curriculum in there that covers all the things: math, reading, science, social studies, and some social skills for those little people as well. This is a big deal, an explicit systematic phonics program for K through 3. Now, typically you might not go K through 3, it might be K2, but we haven't had a systematic phonics program. It's been a part of our reading program, but it hasn't been systematic every day. This is the lesson, this is what we're doing. So we included third grade just recently. Third grade got the same phonics program. It's a mixture of whole group instruction, that means teaching the whole class the same thing at the same time, and intentional interventions to fill those gaps early, like what was up there before. This is a great tool, and our teachers are loving it. They are going to professional developments. We had a bunch of them in over the summer in professional development on their own time, just wanting to learn the program and do great things for kids. So I talked about this a little bit before, the K-9 consolidated ELA curriculum. Into reading for K through 6, into literature for 7th through 9th. It's the same publisher, it's HMH. But that gives us K through 9, same curriculum. It changes at 7th grade, it goes into interliterature, and it changes its model a little bit, but it's the same publisher, and we are seeing some great things for that. Kids love the books that are a part of that, and it's a really good program to use. Last year we had it originally with the adoption from K through 5, so that was 2 years ago when it was the ELA adoption year. We added 7th and 8th grade last year because we needed something at middle school. We needed a little bit more structure, a little bit more curriculum, and so we added 7th and 8th, and they rolled it out in January, which is unusual. But that gave them a chance to kind of feel their way, try some things. And then this year, we added 6th and 9th, so plug the holes to give us that whole spread from K through 9. That, I think, is going to give us really good dividends. It's a quality product, and like I say, the kids love it. Teachers quite like it too. Right. Addressing learning gaps. So this is like, I try not to get too enthusiastic about this, but this is a really cool. This is a new reading success class at the middle school. What our data showed us at the bottom here is that we had lots of room for growth in 7th and 8th grade. So we were sending our 9th graders, our freshmen, to high school, about 65 to 70% of them not reading where they need to read. That's huge. So we had some conversation around how do we work with that? How do we address that? And we came up with a reading success class. So towards the end of last year, the 6th and 7th grade students did a reading screener. So we had that data before the end of last year. When the test scores came back, Mrs. Pruitt and her team sat down with the screener and the test data and kind of ruled kids in, ruled them out based on their test scores as well, and then selected the students that needed to go into that class for that support. It's a lot of kids. This is a full-time teacher every day. So it was based on need, it's based on data. As a teacher and a teacher assistant in it, both of whom are really good. We kept the class sizes low deliberately because it's really an intervention success support class. It's a selective rather than an elective, like we selected you to be in it. And the model was an elementary model. It's not, some of you might be familiar with middle school kind of intervention, extra reading classes, that kind of thing, where kids sit around and read novels or do that kind of stuff. It's not that. It's much more based on an elementary model of flexible grouping and a lot of student engagement in small groups, a group with the teacher, a group with the TA, and then a couple of independent working groups that are specifically targeted for what the students need. It is intentional intervention with ongoing assessment, and the goal is for the kids to test out of there. So we got some data coming up that we're going to take a look at, and we may already have some kids that are where they need to be and they may be able to move on out of there. And then we'll just pick up the next ones because we've kind of got a waiting list. So that is a very It's a great piece of work that we're super proud of.
I need to add. So here's the cool part of what she's talking about with this new learning reading success class. Right now, every day we have 90 kids at the middle school, 15 in a class, 6 classes, 90 kids who are getting reading instruction, and it may be, you've heard people talk about kids that are learning to read, phonics and phonological awareness. There's a phonics and phonological awareness continuum. And these kids, some of these kids, by no fault of their own, just didn't get that particular skill. So they struggle reading because they don't have a skill they may have learned in first grade or second grade or third grade. Maybe they moved, maybe they were gone for a couple of weeks, absent or what have you. The bottom line is these kids, especially in middle school, can pick up these skills fairly quickly. Now, not all of them are just phonics and phonological awareness. The end game for reading is comprehension. So what we want to end game test them on is, can they comprehend? Can they read something and then tell us what they read? We're able to do this. We'll help more than 90 kids because some of those kids are going to test out. When's the first test where we start testing out? When are now? So we'll probably end up helping 140 or 50 kids that had gaps in their reading, that couldn't read well, and consequently, you see those scores, look at those 7th and 8th grade scores, 30, 37, 39, 36, 34, 31. We can do better, and because we looked at the data, we figured out a way to do better. And I don't know if you have in your mind, this is the last thing we'll say, Brenda, and I'm going to give it back to you. I know, none of this counts. I told her 10 minutes, flat, but I didn't know I was going to talk. It's 10 minutes plus Drew. The thing that that data that we're looking at right there is our kids, without a doubt, can do better than what they're doing. But it's not a kid problem. It's the adults not doing the right thing. Giving these teachers were so excited about the reading and math curriculum that they got. They're so excited about the U-Fly training and all the training that was done this summer. Our teachers were begging for this stuff, and now they're getting it. It takes a while to turn a ship, but we're going to see some nice growth next year and the following year. We can't compare last year's scores to this year's, the ones that we just got back, because they changed the cut scores. But we're going to tell you what those things are, but it looks like we are geniuses and that we had 30-point gains, but we didn't. Now you. What are you waiting on?
I'm going to clip on a little bit quicker now to make up for
Okay.
additional time. Anyway, so this is something we are super proud of, because I think, and I've asked around, I know a few educators, there's nothing like this out there in other districts. So super excited to see what it means for students, and super glad that we have the flexibility to be able to create something that based on need to meet student needs. All right, our reading support team. Our reading support team is a district team of reading experts who we have some based at each school. We have a reading coach, Jennifer Wilcox, at elementary now, so we're kind of boosting up the reading at all the way around. The district team is great. They work well together. We're looking at, improving student outcomes all the time. All right, strength and support and instruction. This is instructional coaches. If you didn't know, we have 4 instructional coaches at the secondary level, 1 for each core area. The math and ELA coaches are housed at the middle school this year. They were at the high school last year. Science and social studies are still at the high school. This is a deliberate move, because one of the things we realized in the conversation that came, that brought out the reading success class, is that middle school has been sailing along, doing their thing with no support. And so all that, what you saw with the test scores and what have you, it's not their fault either. It's just like a systemic thing. They needed support, and we didn't have anything for them. So they now have the math and ELA coaches right there in the building, which really helps with that new math curriculum rollout, the ELA things that we're doing, and just generally supporting them. So we have 4 coaches at secondary level, and we have an elementary reading coach. They collaborate with teachers to improve outcomes. They also provide PD, and they're there to help and support and improve instruction. All right, just a really quick catch up on our EL, our English language learners. Our population of English language learners is growing, as you probably anticipate. These are some numbers over the last 3 years, and at this year we're looking at around about 200, so still growing. We have 31 different languages in our 200 kids. That's pretty spectacular. We have managed to make some changes there. We now have EL support in 1st through 12th grade. We have a teacher at middle school this year who's got 1 hour dedicated to that. We've got one at the high school who's dedicated to that, and we have a EL teacher who's covering the elementaries, including PI. So we've got some support, but it is a growing population, and would anticipate that there'll have to be a growing level of support also. The goal, don't forget the goal. Students who start Piedmont start with us from anywhere pre-K to 2nd. Our goal is to get them proficient in English before they go to middle school. That's super important, and it's super doable, because English language acquisition a lot of times is over time, and we shouldn't have as many kids in middle and high school that have been with us since pre-K and are still EL. We shouldn't have that number of kids. So we're real focused on getting that down. Here's the celebration slide, finally. Last week I got some data and which showed the 10 districts, 10 surrounding districts. There are some missing, but there's 10 biggies there. Looked at all the data and figured out we are first in 5 areas. We're second in 5 tested areas. So out of 13 tested areas, we are number 1 or number 2 in 10 of them. That's a real credit to our teachers and the work that they do with our kids each and every day. We got some areas for growth in 8th grade math and science and 5th grade math. But in those tested areas on OSTP, that doesn't include ACT and like high school stuff. That's just up to 8th grade. But we are 10 out of 13. We are number 1 and number 2. And now, anybody know who our competitor is? Come on.
Deer Creek.
It's Deer Creek. That's right. It's Deer Creek. But, you know, we were number 1 in half of that. So that's it. Any questions? All right. See, I really went 10 minutes and Drew took the other 9, so that's good. All right. Thanks.
Thank you. Good job.
Yeah, I just have a comment. So I appreciate the presentation and all the work, because this answered a lot of questions that I've gotten over the years about a few topics and areas of concern. So I think it's great that everybody got to see it and it was presented, in the meeting, and hopefully everyone gets to see all the improvement we're making. So I'm excited.
Thank you. Anytime if any of you or anybody out there has a question about what we're doing instructionally, curriculum-wise, just call this office and ask for Brenda. She'll be happy to sit down in person with you or talk to you on the phone. But we're proud of the things we're doing. We're making some serious gains, but we're a long way from being perfect. But we'll get there with your support.
And I think one thing to point out too, not just the kids getting the residual effect of improvement, but I know as adults, the importance of having your purpose to grow kids, being able to see that, and finally being able to see how we're doing it and the results of that is appreciated. So I know not just for our kids, but giving our staff something to shoot for as well and strive for, why they got into the business. So Appreciate that. That's been lacking, so thank you.
Thank you.
Move on to item 4, board reports.
Yes. I forget, I have 1 second. It's not going to take me long. Jacob. I told him he was next, but he's not. I am. Oh, that's the wrong one. Board. Okay. So I asked Riley to do one thing for me. I said, let's try to get the board, the principal's information down to 2 pages. I want it to be concise enough that people will read it. You know, we were sending 7, 10 pages out there and all good information, but what I want is just a little, it's almost like social media, a little bite-sized clip of what's going on. And so I'm gonna give you a couple of those, but this will be out tomorrow. We'll send it out, right? So our district enrollment in September is 5,432, which is only 96 more than we had last September, which is kind of interesting. We've been growing at about a 225 to 250 clip, and this year we're only 100 ahead. Transportation's off to a great start. 36 routes, 36 buses, and more than 2,800 registered riders. Now, not all of those riders ride every day, but we got a lot of riders. The operations department has done some great work. They've been working their tails off, but the thing that many people probably don't know is that we had our family and consumer science rooms, both at the middle school and the high school, were in need of renovation. And so we spent some money this summer, and those guys did the work. We put in all new appliances, new countertops, new cabinetry, and new paint. And the result is they look good. If you get a chance to go to the middle school or to go over to the high school, look at those. They are good. And that is my report. You're up, Jacob.
Very good. Well, Drew wanted me to come tonight and just kind of give you guys a brief update of some of the construction, current construction item we're looking at, which is the Piedmont Black Box Theater. So we bid that out this past about a month, and then we have presented that to Drew and are ready to move forward with construction based off of board approval. So quickly, Stacy Group was the architect on that. The next slide, just give you a brief overview of the project. It's a 4,100 square foot remodel of the existing weight room in the high school. With that, we will end up getting 135 theater style seats. So very nice seats, not high quality seats that you'd see in a bigger theatrical place. The stage is a 30-foot wide, 11'6" tall opening. It'll have curtains and be set up essentially for a full use of production that you could do. We will be stripping out some of the mechanical, adding a little bit of additional mechanical that we feel is needed in order to make sure it's comfortable when you use it, and then also equipping it with a lot better lights and capability for lights to be added from a theatrical standpoint. We are looking to start that based off of board approval in the next 2 weeks. Go to the next slide. It'll be scheduled there. Start that in the next 2 weeks. We expect that to start that 3rd week of September, be done in about the 3rd week in November. The only caveat to that is we are not going to be able to get the seating in at that time, but we do want to be able to provide the space for use. And so right now our plan is to provide it turned over at the end of November. The school will be able to use it for the month of December, and then it'd be sometime in about the mid-January timeframe is when we get those seats in. We'd come back in and install those, and then you'd have a fully functioning setup. So that's kind of what our plan is right now to do that. If you go to the next slide is the budget that we've got with this. So we did have to bid this out. The grand total is $488,419. That included these trade partners here for the ones that we are recommending that we award to. All these were the low bidders except for 2. The 2 that we had selected to go with was Performance Surfaces for the chairs. That was due to a discrepancy with the lower bidder's bid. And then also the time frame that they could get those was a lot better than the other bidder. The second one that we chose, the second bidder instead of the lowest, was electrical. The lower bidder had a discrepancy, again, with their bid that didn't turn in all the paperwork they needed to on bid day. We did not feel like it was a good precedence to set for the school, essentially to accept those that don't have all the proper paperwork. And so I made the recommendation that we don't accept that one and we would go with the second one, which would be All-State Electric on that one. So, any questions I can answer about the project scope or about any of the bidding or anything like that?
I haven't been in the high school in a while. Is this the old
Wrestling ring, that's
Okay.
correct. Yes.
So here's the pictures currently of, it's sometimes used for band or orchestra or something. So right now, essentially, if you imagine this, we'd be taking all the pads off the walls, stripping the existing mechanical, electrical out to what we need, pulling the flooring out, installing some new walls to hang our curtains on, and then building a theatrical seating bleachers in the back.
When he says theatrical seating, it's like the seats that you would sit at in movie theater, not the reclining ones, but nice high back seats. It's going to be a nice experience for our parents.
When we're setting up in the intermediate right now, do we know how many seats we're typically, like,
Stacy can tell us.
I thought she might be able to.
So typically we would run about 150, 175, and this will have seating, but then on the floor, there's flexible seating for other chairs,
Okay.
which allows for the productions to be right up next to the people, but then you can have vocal concerts in there and add additional seating because they won't need as much space on the stage.
Thank you. Other questions, board? Thank you, Jacob. Thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So you need to read that and then
Yes.
you need to vote on it.
Yeah, item 5, the business items. So Part A, discuss and take possible action regarding approval of construction bids for Black Box Theater. So, motion.
I make a motion, we approve the action regarding approval of construction bids for Black Box Theater.
I'll second.
Motion by Jared, second by Derek. Can we get a vote?
Neil,
Yes.
Jared,
Yes.
Derek, yes. Katie,
Yes.
Lane.
Yes. All right, moving on to Part B, discuss and take possible action on fiscal year 25 estimate of needs.
And we're going to get the microphone down to Jennifer. Thank you.
Okay, so the big document and the two small documents are all in your file folder, but I just gave you the two smaller documents tonight to look at in front of you. We can go through the big one if you would like, or if you have any questions, but we'll start with those. So the one that's the budget comparisons just breaks it down to current year, prior year, and what the differences are for general fund, building fund, child nutrition, and sinking. And so you can see in the general fund, really the only decrease in difference is the carryover amount from prior year to current year. And so, but actually our budget is gonna be more. So it's 46.3 million where we were at 42.3 last year. So that's what we're looking at there. And then building fund, there's no decreases there. Our carryover was significantly more coming into this year than the prior year. So our budget there is 9.6 million, and then compared to prior year of 4.8 million. Child nutrition fund, again, the only thing that went down was carryover. We're kind of, there were several years there that all kids were eating free and we were getting paid more from the federal government, and we're just seeing we're filling that in the carryover amount. But we still have a healthy carryover in there, and so current year budget is 2.7 compared to 2.9 last year. And then you can see the millage levy down at the bottom for the sinking fund. So That's kind of the snapshot of it. And then if you go to the publication sheet, this gives you the details of what makes up those numbers. So the 46.3 is the left column that says general fund. After that kind of top recap or top section that recaps just cash balance. And so there you can see how it's all broken down into all of the different sources of revenue, the state, the county, and then the federal. So some of those are taken off direct allocations we have, like our state aid and our flexible benefit allowance. Others are estimated off of what we collected last year. The majority of those are estimated around 90% of collections for last year. Which just gives us a little room in case it goes down. We're not expecting it to be 100% just in case. The tax amount is given to us by the county, and so that is set by them. We don't have a say in that. And then to the right is the sinking fund, and down towards the bottom is where you'll see the building fund and the child nutrition fund. So questions over any of that?
I have 2 questions.
Okay.
So the sinking fund millage levy, that's based on the bond funds. Our building fund carryover, is that just from that allocation that we receive from, what source does our building fund come from?
So the bulk of the building fund carryover actually came from whenever we financed for the roofs.
Okay.
So the sources of revenue that we have for building fund are taxes, and then we have our Red Bud money. And so last year we collected right around $1 million in Red Bud, and then the rest was local taxes, other than that lease purchase that we did for the roofs, because we didn't have the insurance money when we needed to get them replaced before school started. And so that is what you're seeing with that big jump of 3.4 carryover to 7 million carryover.
And then do we have plans to spend that on the roofs? Or-
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So we've already paid for some of them. We're in phase 2 or 3 with the roofs. 2. So that is still progressing. And then we've also started making payments back for that lease purchase that we did. So we've already made that payment this year.
And then I think my other question, so I like, we can see the carryover from last year. We see the carryover where we're starting with the current year. I think it relates to income. So we have our cash fund balance, our estimated miscellaneous revenue, and then the balance to raise from ad valorem tax. Is that number one that we find out as we get into the tax year, that 11,405,000, or is that number already
So the ad valorem is given to us by the county.
already,
Now,
or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we already have that, and they give it to the auditors, and then they mail us paperwork that has it on there, and that is what we use for the year.
So based on the total budget, is the cash fund, or the fund, I'm sorry, the carryover balance, is that anticipated to carry over in the way that we have the needs estimated? Like, do we see this year's anticipated carryover anywhere, or does it all just kind of go into the different lines and then we see it at the end? Does that make
So,
sense?
Yes, so we basically start looking at carryover in around February.
Okay.
Because we get our midterm adjustment in December, right, during Christmas break. And so we start seeing those, if our midterm adjustment is increased for state aid, we start seeing those increased payments in January. And so that's kind of when we can feel like we can really get an idea of what we're going to collect for the rest of the year. And then we start looking at what our expenditures are at and what we have left in our balance that's not encumbered yet. And then we just make a determination on how much we want to try to keep our expenditures out each month to keep our carryover where we want it to be for the next year. So we start planning in February, but then, you know, things can happen too. So it doesn't always work out exactly how we think by the time we get to June. But that's when we start looking at carryover. So you
Okay.
won't see it on any of this
So you
right
just
now.
see it, you'd see the whole budget kind of divided out, and then we start to encumber it.
Yeah,
as
this
we
is
need it.
basically,
Yeah.
so the estimate of needs is just telling the state and the county, these are all the collections they need to get in this year to be able to pay their expenditures.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Question, I should know this. When you think about ad valorem tax estimates,
Mm-hmm.
what's the percentage of, like, what percent goes to the building fund, and which goes to the general fund? Like, is there a split there?
I do not know the exact split. Whenever we
But a
get,
portion of our ad valorem has to go to building fund, and a portion goes to the general fund, right?
and a portion goes to sinking fund, yes. So the portion that goes to sinking fund goes directly to pay bond payments yearly. And then the building fund is a little bit more flexible for us to do things with, like general fund. But when we get that from the county, they break it out specifically. This is how much goes in your building fund. So they tell us
Okay.
exactly where it goes.
Plus, it's based on 90%, so there's 10% usually there that works for carryover as well, right?
Yeah,
Especially in a growing district.
yes, yeah. When you guys start seeing over collections on the graphs,
Yeah.
that's what's helping build our carryover.
Yeah.
Is when we start into that over collections for each of the revenue categories.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? It's a lot of 51 pages. It's a big document.
I guess I do have a comment. This format of seeing the numbers makes much more sense to me than other formats. So I like the year over year right next. I don't know.
So no graphs anymore, that's what I'm hearing.
No, they want the graphs. The graphs just don't help me. These spreadsheets, these I like.
We will provide you
No.
whatever you need. Won't we?
In this budget comparison that's in our packet is the same as this handout, correct?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I was.
When a superintendent says "we," you know it's not me, right?
I wasn't asking for something else. I was just commenting that it is helpful to see it like that for me sometimes.
I'm serious. We will get you whatever you need. If you want to see it a different way, we'll get it for you.
All right. Any other questions or comments? If not, looking for a motion to approve.
I'll move that we approve the estimate of needs for fiscal year '25.
I'll second.
Neil,
You
gotcha.
got that? Neil? Neil got the second. Katie with the motion, Neil with the second. Do we get a vote?
Neil,
Yes.
Jared,
Yes.
Derek, yes. Katie,
Yes.
Lane.
Yes. All right, moving on to item C, discuss and take possible action regarding Apple Developer Enterprise Program binding authorization letter.
So all this is, it gives us the ability, if you guys approve it and we sign it, it gives us the ability to publish our app, our Piedmont Schools app, to the Apple Store. That's all we're doing. So parents can get it off there.
Where are they getting it now?
They're not, are they getting it? They're not getting it.
Oh, so this is new.
Yeah.
I was going to say what app, but
I wanted to say that, but I didn't want to do that. I got it.
what's on our new app?
The app is integrated with our website, so it pulls the data over from our website, the
Okay.
calendars, everything will be pulled over.
It's just app friendly.
Yeah, it's just where you can download it. If you wanted to enable your push notifications, you could. So it's just another way that parents can get more information because they love getting it in their own way. So
Yeah.
we want to just kind of serve them in any way that we can.
Awesome.
What about us Android users?
That already exists.
Does it?
Yes.
Always ahead of the game.
Just can't be put in a group text.
We make our group text
It's
green.
out there for public.
green
Download
text
iOS
or-
18 and we can
Are you
be.
still using MySpace?
Have my own theme music.
Profile song?
Yeah.
So on the app, will they be able to get the emails and all that is sent, or is that
So
sent
it just
separately?
syncs through to our website.
Okay.
It'll just be the website in a more mobile-friendly version. We had this a few years ago. It went away because there's been some challenges with the developer account, and so this is It's just kind of re-upping it. It's nothing really glittery and different.
So if you've ever taken your phone and gone to a website, what you see is this tiny little information. It's hard to maneuver. What this does is put it in an app form so that you can maneuver through the website. So it's really
User-friendly.
just a nicer way of looking at our website.
Mobile friendly.
Yep.
User-friendly.
Yep.
I make a motion, we approve the Apple Developer Enterprise Program binding authorization letter.
I'll second it.
Motion by Jared, second by Katie. Get a vote.
Neil,
Yes.
Jared,
Yes.
Derek, yes. Katie,
Yes.
Lane.
Yes. All right, moving on to item D, discuss and take possible action regarding elementary and secondary mentor teacher assignments as listed on attachment B.
So this probably looks familiar to you. You do this every year. We have mentors for our new teachers, and every year we have to, by state law, we have to have the board approve those mentor teachers, and so that's what you're doing now. Actually, that's what we're asking you to do now.
I make a motion, we approve the mentor teacher assignments on attachment B.
I'll second.
Motion by Jared, second by Neil. Get a vote.
Neil,
Yes.
Jared,
Yes.
Derek, yes. Katie,
Yes.
Lane.
Yes. All right, moving on to item E, discuss and take possible action regarding Holt Truck Center's quote for purchase of 8 hydraulic and 2 air brake buses for $1.369434 million from bond funds.
So it takes about a year from the time we order a bus until it's delivered. And so this contract is saying we're going to buy those buses. If something happened and we didn't want those buses, they could sell them all day long. This basically gets us in line. This reserves those buses for us. So we're going to have 10 buses a year from now. And one of the cool things about Holt, if they can't get us the buses, which they won't because we didn't even order them in August, they'll give us loaner buses until those buses come in. Correct, Josh? Yes, sir. So that's a pretty cool thing. We'll have buses available in August next year. So we'll have added routes more than likely. And, probably about this time, hopefully about this time in September, we'll have 10 new buses.
This is a silly question, but hydraulic versus air, why do we have 8 hydraulic and 2 air?
That's a wonderful question. I think air brakes are better. I think air brakes are safer for one reason. When you have a hydraulic brake system on an automobile or a commercial vehicle, when your hydraulic brakes fail, you lose your brakes. Air brakes, it's the complete opposite. When your brake system fails, mechanically they engage and stop the vehicle. Piedmont does not have any air brake buses, so none of the people here are licensed to operate an air brake bus. If we start with this, we start with 2, we can use these to license everybody through our own internal CDL testing now to get certified for air brakes, and in the future, make those our purchases going forward.
Is there a cost difference?
There is about $3,000 per bus.
No.
Yeah.
You can go ahead.
So I have just a quick question. So when we purchased these from Holt, did we look at the extended, any kind of extended warranty, engine warranty? We operate a fleet, and we the new DEF stuff that's coming, and it just depends on what it costs, what the costs are, and how long you're going to keep the bus. But did we look at the extended warranty on it?
We absolutely did, and they're including it free of charge for 7 years.
My question was kind of unrelated to the purchase, but we have 36 right now active from the presentation, right? Are all 10 of these, are we going to have 46 next school year, or will we be like retiring some?
That is an awesome question. I'm going to let Josh answer. I do know the answer.
There are 9 buses that we currently have that are leased. That lease expires on June 30th of the coming school year. So these will be directly in service to replace buses that are going back off lease.
And we don't anticipate releasing any of those, so we'll have essentially one more
Correct.
than this
will
year.
net one game next
Okay.
year.
Now, we have those buses, those are route buses. We also have how many activity buses?
We have 10 activity buses right now, and on Thursday and Friday night, they're all gone.
So we have activity buses that sit there during the day, but if we have a route bus that goes down, like happened last Friday, then we just pull an activity bus out. The tricky part is sometimes people need to leave on an activity at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, which is before our routes go in. But he's always been able to make that work. But
Yeah.
the point is there's a little buffer there.
Yeah, okay. Just curious.
Thank you,
And I'm
Josh.
sure you'd have told us that when we talked about it the first time.
We will tell you as many times as you want to hear it. Thanks, Josh.
Any other questions or comments?
Nope.
I'll make a motion, we approve the Holt Truck Center's quote for purchase of 8 hydraulic and 2 air brake buses for $1,369,434 from bond funds.
I'll second.
Motion by Lane, second by Jared. Can we get a vote?
Neil?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Derek? Yes. Katie?
Yes,
Lane?
Yes. All right, moving on to Part F, discuss and take possible action regarding revised rates of pay for fiscal year '25.
So one of the things that Patty and Jennifer worked on this summer was creating a rates of pay scale so that we're paying every person that does a given job a given amount of money. What had happened is we were, when it was being taken out of activity funds, sometimes it was being paid, a different amount was being paid. And so we standardized those things, and we have that now, and everybody works off of it. But occasionally, we find something that we didn't know we needed to have on there, or just another thing. And so we're having you approve that. You'll see that periodically, that we ask you to approve that, and we're just updating that list.
I lost all my stuff. I think the network went in, but. I kind of had a question just about language on like the camps and the sports camps and things like that. But I don't really know what my question is. So it just said unless it was used for their program, and they had facility rentals and liability insurance. So I wasn't really sure about when the pay on that one comes into play and when it doesn't, but it's really not a super specific question.
Jennifer,
so-
Yeah, I can
Jennifer
take that.
can answer that.
Okay.
So some of the coaches, whenever they do summer camps where the littles come and participate, they choose to not pay themselves and put all of those proceeds back into their program. So we didn't want to put language out there that forced them to pay themselves if they wanted to keep that money for their program. So that's that portion that you're talking about. The portion that talks about if they have liability insurance is if they want to go out and start their own LLC corporation to run a camp and just rent our facility, then that's an option for them to do, just like other people renting the facilities. We just put that there to require the same things that we would require from an outside person renting it.
And the rate of pay on those hourly rates, that was just done like a competitive market analysis on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
The ones in yellow, were those the ones added?
Those are the ones that changed, yes.
And overall, on summer camps, and probably a Matt Schellenberger question more so, I know our intent several years ago with some of this and asking the coaches to give back to the programs and balancing that with them being able to make money in the summer off camps. So that, I guess the outcome is still where this is an incentive for them, for us as a school district, to make sure we're keeping good coaches that know they can run camps in the summertime and make additional income. That's still there, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's the front camps, obviously, for most of those things. Obviously, the store facilities and also for our coaches have the possibility of making extra money for not only them, but their program as well.
Yeah, and I know we've talked about this, you know, in the past about the importance of giving back to the programs. I think most coaches, you know, understand that, but also when you're trying to recruit coaches, I mean, if you want the best in a dwindling supply chain, I guess if you want to call that, of coaches, you've got to be able to give them additional opportunity to make money in the summertime. And this is something I think that's very important to make sure that we don't lose sight of as well. And keeping our kids in-house for camps is a big part of that as well. So anyway, if that's
That's in there. So what you heard Jennifer say about the LLC, if a coach wants to make money, like as summer wages, they want to make additional money. They don't want to go off the rates of scale, which $100 or $200 an hour, whatever. If they want to make a lot of money, they just get an LLC, cost them $48 a year. I think it's $120 to open one up, and then they're renting the facilities, and they make as much money as the number of kids that they bring in. So we made it where either way will work. If they're just doing it so that they can get some money in their activity account for their for softball or whatever, they do it this way. If they're doing it for a source of income for them, they do it this way.
Yeah, and by no means am I trying to even encourage or suggest fleecing our people, because that's not, you know, but we have a large population that will use our local camps. And I think it's a win-win if they're providing the instruction and they're getting compensated for it, and there obviously is a balance to where their program benefits from it as well. So I know it's a really fine line in making sure that all those are addressed. So
when we have our own coaches doing a camp, do we give them a better facilities just right? Or is it sort of a standard across the board? So
It's a standard across the board. We have the same rates of pay for anybody because there's wear and tear on those facilities. So you're out there playing softball, and you've got 10 teams over a weekend. There's wear and tear. So those facilities, plus you have electricity to run those lights. So we use that for that purpose.
facilities
That's right.
rental,
Mhm.
essentially.
questions, comments? Anybody else? Jared?
No, I'm good.
Okay. All right, I'll make a motion that we approve the revised rates of pay for fiscal year '25.
I'll second.
Motion by Lane, second by Derek. We get a vote?
Neil,
Yes.
Jared,
Yes.
Derek, yes. Katie,
Yes.
Lane.
Yes. All right, moving on to item G, discuss and take possible action regarding grade level additions to Northwood Elementary, adding pre-K and kindergarten classes.
I'm going to let Lisa give you just kind of the synopsis of what we did and why we did it.
So last summer, we looked at enrollment trends and enrollment numbers to look and see where we could possibly locate a kinder or pre-K class, so we could accept more pre-Kers and then also keep our class sizes for kindergarten at a decent level. And so the winning school was Northwood Elementary, and we were able to take the neighborhoods just right around there, Northwood Lake Estates, Northwood Village, and the Brook, and move those kids to Northwood. And so we've modeled the pre-K and kindergarten program there off of what kids have at the ECC. Same specials, same schedule, all of that.
How's that been received by those parents that, I think you look at ECC and you're like, oh, it's such a great facility. How do they receive that moving into Northwood?
I think there was a handful that were a little hesitant, but we also had a number that reached out and wanted to transfer into Northwood because they actually live closer to Northwood. So, there's some positive if your children go to Northwood already and there's older siblings there. And so really, we didn't have a lot of negative feedback, just a few concerns that we addressed. And if it was a possibility to be able to transfer from ECC to Northwood or the other direction, then we honored those if there was space in the capacities.
How's the busing with the little ones? Do they get on the same bus as the?
They do. They
older
get
kids?
on the same bus as the Northwood kiddos, and we have not had any problems with that.
Okay,
So
good.
it's gone well.
Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah, thank you.
questions or comments?
Nope.
And we're gonna officially make, it's an action item, I mean, we're gonna officially set it. Okay.
Make a motion that we approve the grade level additions to Northwood Elementary by adding pre-K and kindergarten classes.
I'll second.
Motion by Lane, second by Derek. Get a vote.
Neil.
Yes.
Jared.
Yes.
Derek. Yes. Katie.
Yes.
Lane.
Yes. All right, moving on to item H, discuss and take possible action regarding contract with Reese Wolf Davis for speech therapy services up to 20 hours per week.
So this is a half-time position that is by, this is the one that we're doing by contract. So speech, we have a lot of speech kids, and everybody has a lot of speech kids. It's not like it's something new to Piedmont. And it is challenging to get speech paths to work in the schools. The ones that want to work in the schools are the ones that have kids and want to have the same schedule. They can go to a hospital and make a lot more money, a lot more money. So, and then some of these people will work as a contract laborer and not have any insurance, like they'll get their insurance a different way. And so we will have different things coming to you throughout the year. This may very well change as we get our numbers. We do, when's the child count? October, I'm talking, your child count, the SPED one is too? Okay, so that's when we'll know for sure what our numbers are. We may be coming back to you. This is a contract person, so if we end up getting someone to sign on of a regular contract, like a full-time position, then we would just reduce these. We wouldn't be obligated. These are as-needed hours. Anything you want to add? Nothing? Okay. Any questions?
That's up front with.
That's right.
Okay, perfect.
Yes, so contract labor is usually used to ramp up rent now based on need, right? So
Mhm.
what you're trying to say is based on a new count that's coming out, we may have to ramp up or ramp down
Yeah.
based on needs.
It won't be ramped down. It'll be ramp up. We are always, we spent the entire last school year with not enough speech path, and we had to double up on our speech path. Just did a good job of taking extra cases. We want to get that spread out, but our caseloads continue to grow.
I was just going to add, the solicitation of this contract provider was not in relationship to the October 1 count, but a resignation from the ECC a couple days before school started.
Any other questions or comments?
I move that we approve the contract with Reese Wolf Davis for speech therapy services up to 20 hours per week.
I'll second.
Got a motion by Katie and a second by Jared. Get a vote.
Neil.
Yes.
Jared.
Yes.
Derek. Yes. Katie.
Yes.
Lane.
Yes. All right, moving on to item I, discuss and take possible action regarding sign language interpreter job description.
So sign language in this district is not new, but no one could find the sign language interpreter job description. So we wrote one. We're asking you to approve it. Then we're going to ask you for us to post a job, because we have a student that needs a sign language interpreter half day, right? Half day.
So is that not something you would contract out, or they gotta be here all the time? Is that?
This is a contract, right?
No, this item is just for the job description. The next item is if we can't fill this job, we'd contract it out.
The thing on the issue on the contract, like, we probably will have to do contract. We may find somebody half-time. Contracts are always more expensive than getting somebody full-time. That's why they do that. So I don't know I don't know how optimistic Scott is about getting somebody, but we'll see. The good news is on child count, deaf ed, blindness, all those different situations pay additional dollars to pay for these. So it's not like we're not making money, we're not losing money.
I make a motion we approve the job description for the sign language interpreter.
I'll second. Motion by Jared and a second by Lane. Get a vote.
Neil,
Yes.
Jared,
Yes.
Derek, yes. Katie,
Yes.
Lane.
Yes. All right, moving on to item J, discuss and take possible action regarding Sign Language Resource Services Incorporated agreement for contracted interpreter services. This is just the contract that goes
Right.
with that.
But we are posting the job as well and trying to fill it.
All right, I'll make a motion that we approve the Sign Language Resource Services Incorporated agreement for contracted interpreter services.
I'll second.
All right, Lane with the motion, Katie with the second. Can we get a vote?
Neil,
Yes.
Jared,
Yes.
Derek, yes. Katie,
Yes.
Lane.
Yes. Moving on to item K, discuss and take possible action regarding adoption of district policy BD, health services and communicable diseases.
So all these next 5 items are all policies that our RAO, or Regional Accreditation Officer, sent and said, you have to have policies for this by when we come out and do our accreditation visit in October? October 2nd. So we have to have these approved by you before that happens. And so if you have any questions about any of those, all of these next 5 items were written by our attorneys. But if you have specific questions about how implementation or anything, we've got different people, and Patty and Lisa will be able to tell you anything you want to know about K.
So none of this policy, none of this existed in any of our others?
Actually, the health services and communicable diseases is brand new.
The health services and communicable diseases is brand new. It's the same language for anyone who uses Center for Education Law. That's the only one that's brand new. The rest of them are just additional, they have additional language.
It's a brand new requirement.
For accreditation for a fall audit, yes. But it is also a brand new policy.
I thought we had some around administering medication. I'm just making sure we're not duplicating anything else that's already out there.
We're still in cleanup mode on our board policy. We've got a few that were approved by the old law firm that don't give us everything that we need. We're just replacing those with this.
I just reading through this, I know we had stuff on it, so I just don't want to approve something, we have something else out there. I want to make sure we're
Gotcha.
doing the cleanup.
You bet.
Any other questions or comments? Policy BD? All right, I'll make a motion that we approve District Policy BD, Health Services and Communicable Diseases.
I'll second.
Motion by Lane, second by Neil. We get a vote. Neil?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Derek, yes. Katie,
Yes.
Lane.
Yes. All right, moving on to item L, discuss and take possible action regarding adoption of District Policy BE, procedures for outside service providers.
I actually lied to you because this particular policy is not a requirement by the RAO. This is something that Scott's been working on. We've had a lot of parents last year and this year that have asked to have an outside service provider come in and work with their child. It might be a behavior person. It might be occupational therapy or somebody they want them to spend an amount of time. If those, and why we think this is important is that if we don't agree to that, it's not like they're holding us hostage. If we don't agree, those kids are then pulled out of school to go to that place, to their office for those, and they miss school. So it allows us, the kid, to get the services they need and for us to keep them in school. Then this policy puts the parameters on the people that will come in, the service providers, that says you have to follow our rules and our procedures and do what the teacher says and not break FERPA policy in order to continue to come back. So we're in complete control of this. But we do think, I mean, we've got multiple parents that are asking you right now, and we've had this, Lisa could tell you about the over time, but I know this year, this is a very popular thing for parents that have this situation because they don't want their kids to miss a lot of school. I
So
understand.
they're paying the contractor?
They're paying them, yeah. We're
just
doing
allowing them into
we're allowing,
the
we have
learning
not
environment.
allowed them before. Some districts do, some districts don't. I think that, I believe the right thing to do is to allow, but have procedures in place so that if they don't do what we want them to do, what people worry about is people coming in and then telling a parent that, the teacher's doing something wrong. But we're not, if we get in a situation where the provider is putting our teacher in a situation where we don't have a good relationship with the parent, we're not going to continue that. But they'll know that up front.
Are we providing a space for them to do this? Whatever, I mean, I know those services are varied, but I imagine most of the time they're gonna get a space.
For the one specifically that Dr. Eichelberger is talking about, it'd be within the classroom. And then, for example, if the occupational therapy or a counselor, it might be providing a separate space.
So are these not services that we're already providing these students, or these are just requested?
These are services on top of what we're providing.
So in essence, I would say we're covering our bases, so to speak. We're making sure that we have control over the situation, providing services to the kids, and yet allowing us to say.
Correct. There are services that they're eligible for through their insurance, so that's why they're pulling them out of school to go get the services. Part of the agreement on the first page in bold at the bottom, you can see it's within our discretion at any time to restrict, refuse, or remove that service. And so I think Dr. Eichelberger mentioned it earlier. It's free services to the district. We're not obligated to pay for anything. So it's just, in my mind, it's about collaboration with parents and teachers and just wraparound services for kids, community partnerships, that kind of lens looking at it.
Some parameters around it.
And this won't be a badging process. Like, we're not gonna give them a badge. They're gonna have to go to the office and check in and then escort it to where they need to go.
Correct.
Okay.
All right, any other questions, comments? All right, I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve action regarding adoption of district policy BE, procedures for outside service providers.
I'll second.
Jared with the second. Neil with the motion, Jared with the second. Can we get a vote?
Neil.
Yes.
Jared.
Yes.
Derek. Yes. Katie.
Yes.
Lane.
Yes. All right, moving on to item M, discuss and take possible action regarding adoption of district forms BEF, Service Providers Agreement.
This is just a form to sign.
I make a motion we approve the adoption of district forms BEF Service Providers Agreement.
Second.
All right, Derek. Jared with the motion, Derek with the second. Can we get a vote?
Neil.
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Derek? Yes. Katie?
Yes.
Lane?
Yes. All right, moving on to Part N, discuss and take possible action regarding revisions to District Policy ED, grading, promotion, retention, and graduation.
So.
Changes are in red, correct?
Yes. And Lisa's going to tell you about this. It's basically a change. You've heard of the RSA, Reading Sufficiency Act. Well, that's now no longer a law in the state. It's SRA, Strong Readers Act. And so there's some differences in that, but this is a required law. This is, everything that's in this is based on the change in the law. Lisa?
So last year, legislature approved the Strong Readers Act, which took away the Reading Sufficiency Act. Reading Sufficiency Act came out several years ago and was a way for us to monitor students' reading progress. And then you may remember it wasn't too many years ago that they instituted the mandatory third grade retention law. And so this really changes that piece. There's still the part where we're tracking kids and we're giving them an individual plan based on where they're scoring at the beginning of the year. We're notifying parents, we're screening for dyslexia. All of those things are still in there, just the way it plays out is a little bit different. This has taken good cause exemptions away and has different language. So for sure, our promotion retention policy had to change to meet those requirements of the Strong Readers Act.
Questions, comments? Okay.
I just have one on these. You know, as I look through them, can we make sure, and I haven't looked, I should, but when we publish these, are we going to put the adoption date and revision date?
Yes.
Because the ones that we're looking at, you know, don't have that, and that's good for
Yeah.
us to know when we looked at it last.
Yes, I will remind the person that's doing that for us to make sure that those are included.
Anybody else? I make a motion that we approve the revisions to District Policy ED, grading, promotion, retention, and graduation.
I'll second.
Who'd that go to?
Neil?
Attaboy.
Motion by Lane, second by Neil. Can we get a vote?
Neil?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Derek? Yes. Katie?
Yes.
Lane?
Yes. All right, moving on to policy, or to Part O, discuss and take possible action regarding revisions to District Policy EE, student activities.
These last two are both just required by our RAO for accreditation, and if you have any questions, Patty will be happy to answer them.
Anybody?
So I did have a question as I read through this. It talks about AEDs. Do we have, you know, as we've added the WAC and we softball, tennis, you know, we're getting more buildings, more. I guess, do we have enough of them?
We do.
Because we used to have to run from like, we needed one at softball one night. We had to run, I remember years ago, we had to run all the way around the baseball field. I mean, it was, nobody knew where it was at, so. How do we do that today is my question, I guess.
We've addressed that and updated that. We've got full coverage everywhere. Our softball, baseball actually has two. Baseball has one, softball has one.
And there's one at the WAC right inside the door.
We actually have two at the WAC, one in the lobby and one downstairs.
We were pretty fortunate for a staff member several years ago to have one at the Collette.
Absolutely.
And I'm assuming you guys are well publishing the emergency response plan. Just, I know you have one, so are we making sure everybody's sort of aware of it?
Yes, sir.
So, just if you didn't know, the pads in those expire.
Correct.
And so we,
Nurse Safety handles that and updates them every year.
okay, all right, great, thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, thanks.
Sorry, it just.
No
No,
problem.
I make a motion, we approve the revisions to district policy EE, student activities.
I'll second. It's a motion by Derek, second by Lane. Can we get a vote?
Neil?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Derek? Yes. Katie?
Yes.
Lane?
Yes. All right, moving on to item P, discuss and take possible action regarding adoption of district policy FA, voluntary prayer.
This is nothing new. This has been in state law forever, but they are asking us to have a policy for accreditation, so we will have a policy.
Pretty self-explanatory.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody have any questions?
Nope.
Comments?
I make a motion, we approve the adoption of district policy FA, voluntary prayer.
I second.
All right, motion by Jared, second by Derek. Can we get a vote?
Neil?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Derek? Yes. Katie?
Yes.
Lane?
Yes. All right, moving on to item Q, discuss and take possible action regarding lease revenue bond series 2024 purchase agreement.
So our bonds will go out and we'll know, people will bid on what they are, what the APR is on Thursday. When that happens, Jordan will then look at those and say, of course, the lowest APR is what we want. So lowest best bid. So he's going to look at those. He needs you to approve this to give him the ability. It'll be a signed document that if he wouldn't give to anybody, like if it were 5%, he'd go, we're going to do something else. We're going to rebid or whatever. But he'll give that to them. They need that signed document by the end of that day, Thursday. So we don't have a board meeting for that. We could chase down Lane, but it's a challenge. It might be nap time, who knows? So we are giving this to Jordan Smith with the ability to close that, and then I'll be able to tell you what it is. Jordan's very, he thinks that we're in a really good position. We got a AA rating, which is the best he's ever seen here. And he believes that our number will be a good one.
What's a good one?
I couldn't tell you for sure, but I'm going to guess that it starts with a 3.
Better than we thought it was.
Yeah, and don't hold me to that. It might be different than that, but I think that, yeah, I think it's going to be.
I trust that Jordan, if he gets something back that's out of the market, that is not just out of bounds, like doesn't look right, look good, he won't do it.
That's right.
He's always had the best interest in this district, and not always.
Mm-hmm.
He's very conservative. I don't think he'd even tell me that he's excited about seeing the bids if he didn't think that they're going to come in pretty good.
I make a motion, we approve the lease revenue bond series 2024 purchase agreement.
I'll second. Motion by Jared, second by Lane. Can we get a vote?
Neil?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Derek? Yes. Katie?
Yes.
Lane?
Yes. All right, moving on to part R, discuss and take possible action regarding Amira Learning subscription for reading intervention support.
So this is a contract with a $0 amount. And it's a little convoluted. I'm going to let Lisa explain it to you so that I don't mess it up.
So this last year, the State Department had mentioned that they would be having a vendor that would have a $0 contract moving forward to support the Strong Readers Act work. And so Amira happened to purchase iStation, which is our universal screener that we've used for several years here. And we have a fantastic relationship with the rep. And so this contract basically reserves enough for the students we have in that program, as well as for growth at a $0 amount. So we look to transition to using this as our main screener in the future. This year we've already committed to iStation, and that's what our teachers are trained in. But as we move forward, we'll shift over to the Amira platform.
Questions, comments? All right, make a motion that we approve Amira Learning subscription for reading intervention support.
Second.
Motion by Lane, second by Jared. Can we get a vote?
Neil?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Derek? Yes. Katie?
Yes.
Lane?
Yes. All right, moving on to item S, discuss and take possible action regarding addendum to land acquisition agreement with Premium Land LLC.
So we knew when we started this land deal that we were going to have to bring sewer and water to that site. The question was, where's that sewer and water coming from? So you have to get engineers to make those decisions, and we have to get with the city of Oklahoma City, which is who grants that. And what they determined is we had to go a different direction. We had to come from a different direction in order, because of the topography, in order to make the sewer work, because it's got to be at a certain slope. So we initially thought that this might be in the $600,000 to $900,000 range. That was a wild guess, just $600,000 to $900,000. 6 being low, 9, could be. So when Oklahoma City said, no, you can't go the direction that we thought we were going to, it extended or made us have more feet, linear feet of both sewer and water. The sewer is the big one. It's the one that costs the most money, because on one end of that, it's going to be further in the ground than the other end, so it takes a lot of effort. So the way Oklahoma City wants us, the only way they're going to approve it, actually is beneficial to the owner of the rest of the land. It's going to come in where it's going to be beneficial for them to have that sewer and water where Oklahoma City wants it. So we went back to them and said, since this is going to be beneficial, would you be willing to have an addendum to the agreement? Remember, they're giving us the land for free. All we're doing is bringing water and sewage, which is of benefit to them whenever they put in a housing addition. We said, would you be willing to pay anything over $900,000? And they said yes, they would. They agreed to it. So they wouldn't have had to do that. And we ultimately would have been on the hook for whatever it cost. But being that it's kind of out of our control with Oklahoma City wanting it to come from a different route, the engineering report, they really didn't even hesitate. They were really good to us. They've been good all the way through. So the maximum that this can cost us to get sewer and water to the site is $900,000. We had $750 in there in our bond budget for that, so it's $150,000 over that. I feel really good about it. So does Lingo and Stacy Group.
They're going to escrow $300,000.
Yeah, and they didn't hesitate.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Do we put these services out to bid like we do the other construction services, or is it run through the
No,
city?
it'll be out to bid. It'll go through the Lingo will run all that, but we'll put all of that out to bid.
And we're only running it to our site where we need it, and then they just tee off and
They'll
take it
tee
around
off.
where they need
That's
to.
correct.
It's a win.
Yeah, it's a win.
It is.
I make a motion we approve the addendum to land acquisition agreement with Premium Land LLC.
A second. Motion by Jared, second by Lane. Get a vote.
Neil?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Derek? Yes. Katie?
Yes.
Lane?
Yes. All right, moving on to item T, discuss and take possible action regarding bus monitor compensation schedule for fiscal year '25.
So we've not had a bus monitor compensation schedule, and what has happened in the past is they've paid them off a different schedule. But we need to have a schedule for what they're doing, so we don't pay somebody off a para schedule or a TA schedule, but they're not doing that work. It's really just cleaning up our processes.
Is this something that we use often?
Do we,
How
yes,
many-
we
yeah,
have.
do we have multiple
yes.
bus
We had
monitors?
bus monitors last year. We paid them off of a scale. I don't know what it was. That is similar. There's nothing illegal about doing it the way it was done. It's not clean. What are we going to pay you for your bus to be a bus monitor? We're going to pay you what this scale says. We're going to pay them off the bus monitor scale, so anybody will be able to look at that and go, have I ever done it before? No, then I'm on step 0. There's my number.
Are we trying to hire more bus monitors? Or just clean up the scale? Can we get some?
We are, I think we have, how many do we have? Do you have any idea? Josh, do you have any idea?
We have 3 special ed bus monitors that are required by law to have for transporting students in wheelchairs.
Mhm.
We would love to have more UCC bus monitors, so if you know anybody, send them our way. We have 2 right now. We're always active looking for more.
Katie, we can't pay you to be a bus monitor, but
I'm
you
in
can monitor.
favor. Okay. I'll go right around. I might fall asleep.
I'll make a motion to approve the bus monitor compensation schedule for FY25.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Jared, second by Neil. Can we get a vote?
Neil,
Yes.
Jared,
Yes.
Derek, yes. Katie,
Yes.
Lane.
Yes. All right, moving on to item 6, consent agenda. Discuss, then vote to approve all consent items. These items may be approved by one board motion unless any board member desires to have a separate vote on any or all of these items.
What was the criteria to be on the Gifted and Talented Advisory Committee?
So it's a 2-year term by law, and so all the people who were on it last year, I'm new to this position, I took over for Debbie Kaywood, and so I reached out to all of those people. And some said yes, and some were excited about sitting out a year. And so then we filled some other, like if there was a hole at the high school, then we looked to see if they had a gifted and talented student, if they could fill that hole.
So this committee is the one that selects who is on Gifted and Talented, or?
This committee's purpose is to look at our district plan, which will be, they'll do that at the end of the month, and then we'll bring that plan to the board in October.
Okay.
And then the other thing they do is they provide feedback about things their students have liked in Gifted and Talented, and then ideas they have for future programs. The meeting itself is open to anyone, but the committee participants are the ones that we encourage to come.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
How often, sorry, I have a question now. How often are they meeting? Is it?
The law says meet once a year, so we're starting with that. And then if there is a need for an additional meeting, we can look to do that.
Is that
as well.
coming up?
September 23rd.
Okay, can we send something out possibly? Because I know that was a lot of question last year. We got some feedback with some changes to the program. So I think people being able to hear discussion for the few that were interested
Sure.
would be awesome.
Sure, and then
Happy to do
Sandy will post it.
Okay.
It has to be a posted item as well.
Okay.
Maybe on our new app?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any questions on the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve all items on the consent agenda, A through O.
I'll second.
All right, motion by Neil, second by Jared. Can we get a vote?
Neil,
Yes.
Jared,
Yes.
Derek, yes. Katie,
Yes.
Lane.
Yes. All right, moving on to item 7, financial report.
Okay, we will start with the graphs.
Katie's favorite.
My favorite part.
So just a reminder, we don't get state aid or any state money in July, so that's why these state sections do not have a lot of collections, because it's really just August that we've received so far. So on the general fund, you can see at the top, I have updated the numbers with our estimate of needs budget numbers. So you can see that our total for expenses, at the bottom, the budget's 46.3, and of that, we have 11.5 left in our balance for the year that's not encumbered. Most of payroll has been encumbered. We have a few things still going. We want to do some blanket POs for substitutes and stuff so that we can get a really good, accurate number of what we're going to spend overall in payroll and not just on just the contracted people. So we still have that to come, but that's where we're at right now. And then for revenue down below, you can see that district, we've just collected 150,000, intermediate 57,000, state 3 million, federal a little over 1 million, and that is money that was spent last year, claimed, and we didn't get it in until this fiscal year. And so that's not any of our allocations for this year yet. And so total, we've collected 4.2 of the 46.3 we expect to collect for general fund. Questions? Okay. Next page is building fund. So again, those numbers are updated with the 9.6 for the budget. We still have a balance of 3.6 that is not encumbered or spent. And then down below, we have only collected in the district sources, and that's just a little over 9,000. Child Nutrition Fund, the top collection, that little 3,000 is so tiny it didn't produce the blue color, but it's there. You just can't see it. So that's updated as well with the 2.7, and we have 521,000 in our balance there. And then down below the collections, we've only collected federal, and again, that amount was claims that were done last year that came in this fiscal year. Bond fund is the next page. Our total budget for bond fund is 12.4 million. Of that, we have 8.5 still in our balance. And then you can see down below, the collections were the 9.2 million that we received in July for the bond sale. Sinking fund, our total is 10.1 million, and we have spent 9.6 of that because we made our payment in July. So we'll spend the rest of the year just building collections for that payment that's due next July. And so down below, you can see we've only received 61,000 in district revenue. And that concludes the graphs. Questions? Do you want to go over any of the others? Are we good with that? Katie, I do have a fantastic report I'm going to send you. So since we used ADPC all year last year, we now have comparison reports for revenue collected, like that compare August to August and where we're at. So
I think
you'll
that's
like
my
them.
struggle, is not knowing where the colors should be at the time of year to know if we're on target or
Yeah.
not for our collections and things like that.
So I can, I'll send you that, how it looks at the end of August, and you can kind of look over it and see if it's something that you want me to start putting in the packet.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments?
Nope.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, moving on to item 8, executive session. Part A, vote to convene or not to convene into an executive session to discuss employment as listed on attachment C, 25 OS 307B1.
I make a motion to not go into executive session.
Second.
Jared, Derek with the motion, Jared with the second. Can we get a vote?
Neil.
Yes.
Jared.
Yes.
Derek, yes. Katie.
Yes.
Lane.
Yes. All right, no executive session minutes compliance announcements. Moving on to item 9, action item, part A, discuss and take possible action on employment as listed on attachment C.
I make a motion to approve employment as listed on attachment C.
All right, I'll second. Motion by Jared, second by Lane. Can we get a vote?
Neil.
Yes.
Jared.
Yes.
Derek. Yes. Katie.
Yes.
Lane.
Yes. All right, moving on to item 10, executive session. Part A, vote to convene or not convene into executive session to conduct an ongoing evaluation of the superintendent pursuant to 25 OS 307B1.
Make a motion to convene into executive session.
I'll second. Let's get a motion by Derek, second by Lane. Can we get a vote?
Neil?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Derek, yes. Katie?
Yes.
Lane?
Yes. All right, the time is 7:35 PM, and we will go into executive session.
Piedmont is the place to be. Teachers want to teach here. Parents want their kids to be here. And so we kind of create some of our own problems by the fact that when you're good, people come towards that.
Piedmont really drew me in terms of doing what's best for kids and making sure that everything we do is for the betterment of the students and the families. And so that is something I knew I wanted to be a part of.
Because that's what we need. We need a new intermediate. We need additional for that age group. That age group is big out here and they just need some room.
I really like how Dr. Eichelberger created a group of community citizens, and we talked about what are the biggest needs. It's classrooms. That's how we're going to support our growth, and that's what we need. And so that collective group ratified that intention of we need more classrooms. That's priority.
I think we're going to continue to grow. You know, the research that we had done by the Zonda Group out of Dallas said that we could be, in 10 years, we could be at 8,000. I think that's probably conservative. I think we could be higher than that, but we've got a plan on 8,000, and so we've got to do our due diligence to plan for what Piedmont looks like in the next 10 years.
The thought of being able to add more classrooms and more space and keep that as a safe environment is like a bonus. You know, it's like, yes, sign me up.
Splitting our school into two would put us right back to where we were 11 years ago. And, you know, even with room for growth after that. So I think that would be huge for staff and our kids, because we want every kid to walk in there to feel like they know someone, they have a personal experience, they want to come to school. And we don't want it to feel like crowd management.
That means class sizes that are reasonable. It means having space for kids to engage in learning activities, to be able to collaborate with one another, to really have the full experience of an elementary classroom.
The more we can do to create a connectivity between what the kids in band do with the rest of, you know, the athletes on the team, the cheer and the pom group, and the rest of the community, it really makes it a more impactful evening for anybody that attends. We have some instruments that are older, that are in still pretty good condition, but the ones that are prior to the 1990s, they're at a point where they can't be repaired much more than where they are now. And when you're talking about trying to make things work with duct tape and finagling things that way, it really places a hardship on the student to adequately do what they're trying to do.
When I first started, there were like nowhere near as many intermediate students in band as there are now. Like both of my little siblings are in band, and I've been going to their concerts, and it's crazy to see how it's almost doubled, maybe tripled the amount of people that there are in band.
It is of the utmost importance that we are good stewards of the school, of the taxpayers' money. We're not going to increase taxes.
I love children. We are growing so much, and we don't have enough buses. And you know, like next year, I think we already need like 3 or 4 more.
Every time we see a strip of land, they start clearing away the old trees, we start planning it ahead of time. Okay, how are we going to service this neighborhood? How many houses are going to be in this neighborhood? How many children are going to be per house? How many buses are we going to have to send for how many sites? So we start as early as possible to try and get ready.
We want to have a plan for every student and know that it's the safest plan we can have. It's an investment in school safety, and that to me is, it's just non-negotiable.
Humans are wired for progress. We need forward movement.
Advancement.
Always looking to take the next step.
You take it to the next level.
$100 more shots.
100 more swings.
100 more laps.
We know that progress requires commitment.
That desire for progress was evident.
When Piedmont citizens approved bond issues in 2016 and 2020 that allowed for major district-wide improvements.
We were able to renovate our athletic facilities to a level that makes them among the best in the state.
A new gymnasium with over 1,500 seats.
Softball and baseball fields fit for perennial title chasers.
Tennis facilities ideal for hosting top-tier tournaments. The people of Piedmont stepped up. They tapped that human desire for progress. The young leaders in our community have never been better served.
We have a saying around here.
Don't be the same. Be better.
Be better.
Be better.
Be better.
Be better.
Be better.
That's the Wildcat way.
Let's go Wildcats!
Piedmont is the place to be. Teachers want to teach here. Parents want their kids to be here. And so we kind of create some of our own problems by the fact that when you're good, people come towards that.
Piedmont really drew me in terms of doing what's best for kids and making sure that everything we do is for the betterment of the students and the families. And so that is something I knew I wanted to be a part of.
Because that's what we need. We need a new intermediate. We need additional for that age group. That age group is big out here and they just need some room.
I really like how Dr. Eichelberger created a group of community citizens, and we talked about what are the biggest needs. It's classrooms. That's how we're going to support our growth, and that's what we need. And so that collective group ratified that intention of we need more classrooms. That's priority.
I think we're going to continue to grow. You know, the research that we had done by the Zonda Group out of Dallas said that we could be, in 10 years, we could be at 8,000. I think that's probably conservative. I think we could be higher than that, but we've got a plan on 8,000, and so we've got to do our due diligence to plan for what Piedmont looks like in the next 10 years.
The thought of being able to add more classrooms and more space and keep that as a safe environment is like a bonus. You know, it's like, yes, sign me up.
Splitting our school into two would put us right back to where we were 11 years ago. And, you know, even with room for growth after that. So I think that would be huge for staff and our kids, because we want every kid to walk in there to feel like they know someone, they have a personal experience, they want to come to school, and we don't want it to feel like crowd management.
That means class sizes that are reasonable. It means having space for kids to engage in learning activities, to be able to collaborate with one another, to really have the full experience of an elementary classroom.
The more we can do to create a connectivity between what the kids in band do with the rest of, the athletes on the team, the cheer and the pom group, and the rest of the community, it really makes it a more impactful evening for anybody that attends. We have some instruments that are older, that are in still pretty good condition, but the ones that are prior to the 1990s, they're at a point where they can't be repaired much more than where they are now. And when you're talking about trying to make things work with duct tape and finagling things that way, it really places a hardship on the student to adequately do what they're trying to do.
When I first started, there were like nowhere near as many intermediate students in band as there are now. Like both of my little siblings are in band, and I've been going to their concerts, and it's crazy to see how it's almost doubled, maybe tripled the amount of people that there are in band.
It is of the utmost importance that we are good stewards of the school, of the taxpayers' money. We're not going to increase taxes.
I love children. We are growing so much, and we don't have enough buses. And next year, I think we already need 3 or 4 more.
Every time we see a strip of land, they start clearing away the old trees, we start planning it ahead of time. Okay, how are we going to service this neighborhood? How many houses are going to be in this neighborhood? How many children are going to be per house? How many buses are we going to have to send for how many sites? So we start as early as possible to try and get ready.
We want to have a plan for every student and know that it's the safest plan we can have. It's an investment in school safety, and that to me is, it's just non-negotiable.
Humans are wired for progress. We need forward movement.
Advancement.
Always looking to take the next step.
You take it to the next level.
$100 more shots.
100 more swings.
100 more laps.
We know that progress requires commitment.
That desire for progress was evident.
When Piedmont citizens approved bond issues in 2016 and 2020 that allowed for major district-wide improvements.
We were able to renovate our athletic facilities to a level that makes them among the best in the state.
A new gymnasium with over 1,500 seats.
Softball and baseball fields fit for perennial title chasers.
Tennis facilities ideal for hosting top-tier tournaments. The people of Piedmont stepped up. They tapped that human desire for progress. The young leaders in our community have never been better served.
We have a saying around here.
Don't be the same. Be better.
Be better.
Be better.
Be better.
Be better.
Be better.
That's the Wildcat way.
Let's go Wildcats!
Piedmont is the place to be. Teachers want to teach here. Parents want their kids to be here. And so we kind of create some of our own problems by the fact that when you're good, people come towards that.
Piedmont really drew me in terms of doing what's best for kids and making sure that everything we do is for the betterment of the students and the families. And so that is something I knew I wanted to be a part of.
Because that's what we need. We need a new intermediate. We need additional for that age group. That age group is big out here and they just need some room.
I really like how Dr. Eichelberger created a group of community citizens, and we talked about what are the biggest needs. It's classrooms. That's how we're going to support our growth, and that's what we need. And so that collective group ratified that intention of we need more classrooms. That's priority.
I think we're going to continue to grow. You know, the research that we had done by the Zonda Group out of Dallas said that we could be, in 10 years, we could be at 8,000. I think that's probably conservative. I think we could be higher than that, but we've got a plan on 8,000, and so we've got to do our due diligence to plan for what Piedmont looks like in the next 10 years.
The thought of being able to add more classrooms and more space and keep that as a safe environment is like a bonus. You know, it's like, yes, sign me up.
Splitting our school into two would put us right back to where we were 11 years ago. And, you know, even with room for growth after that. So I think that would be huge for staff and our kids, because we want every kid to walk in there to feel like they know someone, they have a personal experience, they want to come to school, and we don't want it to feel like crowd management.
That means class sizes that are reasonable. It means having space for kids to engage in learning activities, to be able to collaborate with one another, to really have the full experience of an elementary classroom.
The more we can do to create a connectivity between what the kids in band do with the rest of, you know, the athletes on the team, the cheer and the pom group, and the rest of the community, it really makes it a more impactful evening for anybody that attends. We have some instruments that are older, that are in still pretty good condition, but the ones that are prior to the 1990s, they're at a point where they can't be repaired much more than where they are now. And when you're talking about trying to make things work with duct tape and finagling things that way, it really places a hardship on the student to adequately do what they're trying to do.
When I first started, there were like nowhere near as many intermediate students in band as there are now. Like both of my little siblings are in band, and I've been going to their concerts, and it's crazy to see how it's almost doubled, maybe tripled the amount of people that there are in band.
It is of the utmost importance that we are good stewards of the school, of the taxpayers' money. We're not going to increase taxes.
I love children. We are growing so much, and we don't have enough buses. And you know, like next year, I think we already need 3 or 4 more.
Every time we see a strip of land, they start clearing away the old trees, we start planning it ahead of time. Okay, how are we going to service this neighborhood? How many houses are going to be in this neighborhood? How many children are going to be per house? How many buses are we going to have to send for how many sites? So we start as early as possible to try and get ready.
We want to have a plan for every student and know that it's the safest plan we can have. It's an investment in school safety, and that to me is, it's just non-negotiable.
Humans are wired for progress. We need forward movement.
Advancement.
Always looking to take the next step.
You take it to the next level.
Piedmont is the place to be. Teachers want to teach here. Parents want their kids to be here. And so we kind of create some of our own problems by the fact that when you're good, people come towards that.
Piedmont really drew me in terms of doing what's best for kids and making sure that everything we do is for the betterment of the students and the families. And so that is something I knew I wanted to be a part of.
Because that's what we need. We need a new intermediate. We need additional for that age group. That age group is big out here and they just need some room.
I really like how Dr. Eichelberger created a group of community citizens, and we talked about what are the biggest needs. It's classrooms. That's how we're going to support our growth, and that's what we need. And so that collective group ratified that intention of we need more classrooms. That's priority.
I think we're going to continue to grow. You know, the research that we had done by the Zonda Group out of Dallas said that we could be, in 10 years, we could be at 8,000. I think that's probably conservative. I think we could be higher than that, but we've got a plan on 8,000, and so we've got to do our due diligence to plan for what Piedmont looks like in the next 10 years.
The thought of being able to add more classrooms and more space and keep that as a safe environment is like a bonus. You know, it's like, yes, sign me up.
Splitting our school into two would put us right back to where we were 11 years ago. And, you know, even with room for growth after that. So I think that would be huge for staff and our kids, because we want every kid to walk in there to feel like they know someone, they have a personal experience, they want to come to school. And we don't want it to feel like crowd management.
That means class sizes that are reasonable. It means having space for kids to engage in learning activities, to be able to collaborate with one another, to really have the full experience of an elementary classroom.
The more we can do to create a connectivity between what the kids in band do with the rest of, you know, the athletes on the team, the cheer and the pom group, and the rest of the community, it really makes it a more impactful evening for anybody that attends. We have some instruments that are older, that are in still pretty good condition, but the ones that are prior to the 1990s, they're at a point where they can't be repaired much more than where they are now. And when you're talking about trying to make things work with duct tape and finagling things that way, it really places a hardship on the student to adequately do what they're trying to do.
When I first started, there were like nowhere near as many intermediate students in band as there are now. Like both of my little siblings are in band, and I've been going to their concerts, and it's crazy to see how it's almost doubled, maybe tripled the amount of people that there are in band.
It is of the utmost importance that we are good stewards of the school, of the taxpayers' money. We're not going to increase taxes.
I love children. We are growing so much, and we don't have enough buses. And you know, like next year, I think we already need 3 or 4 more.
Every time we see a strip of land, they start clearing away the old trees, we start planning it ahead of time. Okay, how are we going to service this neighborhood? How many houses are going to be in this neighborhood? How many children are going to be per house? How many buses are we going to have to send for how many sites? So we start as early as possible to try and get ready.
We want to have a plan for every student and know that it's the safest plan we can have. It's an investment in school safety, and that to me is, it's just non-negotiable.
Humans are wired for progress. We need forward movement.
Advancement.
Always looking to take the next step.
You take it to the next level.
$100 more shots.
100 more swings.
100 more laps.
We know that progress requires commitment.
That desire for progress was evident.
When Piedmont citizens approved bond issues in 2016 and 2020 that allowed for major district-wide improvements.
We were able to renovate our athletic facilities to a level that makes them among the best in the state.
A new gymnasium with over 1,500 seats.
Softball and baseball fields fit for perennial title chasers.
Tennis facilities ideal for hosting top-tier tournaments. The people of Piedmont stepped up. They tapped that human desire for progress. The young leaders in our community have never been better served.
We have a saying around here.
Don't be the same. Be better.
Be better.
Be better.
Be better.
Be better.
Be better.
That's the Wildcat way.
Let's go Wildcats!
Piedmont is the place to be. Teachers want to teach here. Parents want their kids to be here. And so we kind of create some of our own problems by the fact that when you're good, people come towards that.
Piedmont really drew me in terms of doing what's best for kids and making sure that everything we do is for the betterment of the students and the families. And so that is something I knew I wanted to be a part of.
Because that's what we need. We need a new intermediate. We need additional for that age group. That age group is big out here.
Piedmont is the place to be. Teachers want to teach here. Parents want their kids to be here. And so we kind of create some of our own problems by the fact that when you're good, people come towards that.
Piedmont really drew me in terms of doing what's best for kids and making sure that everything we do is for the betterment of the students and the families. And so that is something I knew I wanted to be a part of.
Because that's what we need. We need a new intermediate. We need additional for that age group. That age group is big out here and they just need some room.
I really like how Dr. Eichelberger created a group of community citizens, and we talked about what are the biggest needs. It's classrooms. That's how we're going to support our growth, and that's what we need. And so that collective group ratified that intention of we need more classrooms. That's priority.
I think we're going to continue to grow. You know, the research that we had done by the Zonda Group out of Dallas said that we could be, in 10 years, we could be at 8,000. I think that's probably conservative. I think we could be higher than that, but we've got a plan on 8,000, and so we've got to do our due diligence to plan for what Piedmont looks like in the next 10 years.
The thought of being able to add more classrooms and more space and keep that as a safe environment is like a bonus. You know, it's like, yes, sign me up.
Splitting our school into two would put us right back to where we were 11 years ago. And, you know, even with room for growth after that. So I think that would be huge for staff and our kids, because we want every kid to walk in there to feel like they know someone, they have a personal experience, they want to come to school. And we don't want it to feel like crowd management.
That means class sizes that are reasonable. It means having space for kids to engage in learning activities, to be able to collaborate with one another, to really have the full experience of an elementary classroom.
The more we can do to create a connectivity between what the kids in band do with the rest of, you know, the athletes on the team, the cheer and the pom group, and the rest of the community, it really makes it a more impactful evening for anybody that attends. We have some instruments that are older, that are in still pretty good condition, but the ones that are prior to the 1990s, they're at a point where they can't be repaired much more than where they are now. And when you're talking about trying to make things work with duct tape and finagling things that way, it really places a hardship on the student to adequately do what they're trying to do.
When I first started, there were like nowhere near as many intermediate students in band as there are now. Like both of my little siblings are in band, and I've been going to their concerts, and it's crazy to see how it's almost doubled, maybe tripled the amount of people that there are in band.
It is of the utmost importance that we are good stewards of the school, of the taxpayers' money. We're not going to increase taxes.
I love children. We are growing so much, and we don't have enough buses. And you know, like next year, I think we already need 3 or 4 more.
Every time we see a strip of land, they start clearing away the old trees, we start planning it ahead of time. Okay, how are we going to service this neighborhood? How many houses are going to be in this neighborhood? How many children are going to be per house? How many buses are we going to have to send for how many sites? So we start as early as possible to try and get ready.
We want to have a plan for every student and know that it's the safest plan we can have. It's an investment in school safety, and that to me is, it's just non-negotiable.
Humans are wired for progress. We need forward movement.
Advancement.
Always looking to take the next step.
You take it to the next level.
$100 more shots.
100 more swings.
100 more laps.
We know that progress requires commitment.
That desire for progress was evident.
When Piedmont citizens approved bond issues in 2016 and 2020 that allowed for major district-wide improvements.
We were able to renovate our athletic facilities to a level that makes them among the best in the state.
A new gymnasium with over 1,500 seats.
Softball and baseball fields fit for perennial title chasers.
Tennis facilities ideal for hosting top-tier tournaments. The people of Piedmont stepped up. They tapped that human desire for progress. The young leaders in our community have never been better served.
We have a saying around here.
Don't be the same. Be better.
Be better.
Be better.
Be better.
Be better.
Be better.
That's the Wildcat way.
Let's go Wildcats!
Piedmont is the place to be. Teachers want to teach here. Parents want their kids to be here. And so we kind of create some of our own problems by the fact that when you're good, people come towards that.
Piedmont really drew me in terms of doing what's best for kids and making sure that everything we do is for the betterment of the students and the families. And so that is something I knew I wanted to be a part of.
Because that's what we need. We need a new intermediate. We need additional for that age group. That age group is big out here and they just need some room.
I really like how Dr. Eichelberger created a group of community citizens, and we talked about what are the biggest needs. It's classrooms. That's how we're going to support our growth, and that's what we need. And so that collective group ratified that intention of we need more classrooms. That's priority.
I think we're going to continue to grow. You know, the research that we had done by the Zonda Group out of Dallas said that we could be, in 10 years, we could be at 8,000. I think that's probably conservative. I think we could be higher than that, but we've got a plan on 8,000, and so we've got to do our due diligence to plan for what Piedmont looks like in the next 10 years.
The thought of being able to add more classrooms and more space and keep that as a safe environment is like a bonus. You know, it's like, yes, sign me up.
Splitting our school into two would put us right back to where we were 11 years ago. And, you know, even with room for growth after that. So I think that would be huge for staff and our kids, because we want every kid to walk in there to feel like they know someone, they have a personal experience, they want to come to school. And we don't want it to feel like crowd management.
That means class sizes that are reasonable. It means having space for kids to engage in learning activities, to be able to collaborate with one another, to really have the full experience of an elementary classroom.
The more we can do to create a connectivity between what the kids in band do with the rest of, you know, the athletes on the team, the cheer and the pom group, and the rest of the community, it really makes it a more impactful evening for anybody that attends. We have some instruments that are older, that are in still pretty good condition, but the ones that are prior to the 1990s, they're at a point where they can't be repaired much more than where they are now. And when you're talking about trying to make things work with duct tape and finagling things that way, it really places a hardship on the student to adequately do what they're trying to do.
When I first started, there were like nowhere near as many like intermediate students in band as there are now. Like both of my little siblings are in band, and I've been going to their concerts, and it's crazy to see how like it's like almost like doubled, maybe tripled the amount of like people that there are in band.
It is of the utmost importance that we are good stewards of the school, of the taxpayers' money. We're not going to increase taxes.
I love children. We are growing so much, and we don't have enough buses. And you know, like next year, I think we already need like 3 or 4 more.
Every time we see a strip of land, they start clearing away the old trees, we start planning it ahead of time. Okay, how are we going to service this neighborhood? How many houses are going to be in this neighborhood? How many children are going to be per house? How many buses are we going to have to send for how many sites? So we start as early as possible to try and get ready.
All right, we are returning to open session. It is 9:26 p.m. The board entered into executive session at 7:35 p.m. to conduct an ongoing evaluation of the superintendent pursuant to 25 OS 307B1. Those present in executive session were Lane Jones, Katie Cornman, Derek Jones, Jared Mosier, Neil Cass, Dr. Drew Eichelberger. No action was taken. Moving on to item 11, action item, part A, discuss take possible action regarding revision superintendent contract to extend through 6/30/27 and increase annual salary by 2% over contract terms for fiscal year 25.
I'll make a motion, we approve the superintendent contract to extend through 6/30/27 and to increase annual salary by 2% over contract terms for FY 25.
I second.
Motion by Jared, second by Derek. Can we get a vote?
Neil.
Yes.
Jared.
Yes.
Derek, yes. Katie.
Yes.
Lane.
Yes. All right, item 12, new business.
No new business.
All right. Item 13, superintendent's report.
No, we're working on it. Always not.
If I were in front of it, it would have broken completely.
Okay, so you don't get to see everything that I'm going to show you, but we have a new class in Piedmont High School, and it's about future educators. and I'm pretty excited about it. We've got 16 kids in the class, and I went over and talked to them and watched them one day. They're gonna come down to, she's bringing all 16, it's
Lisa Moss.
And she is gonna bring all of them down to the classroom management workshop on Wednesday. And I was just really impressed by the work she's doing with those kids. And I asked the administrators last year if we needed another elective, if we could do something with that. And it's very popular. Matter of fact, I think we'll have more than one section next year. I would love in a few years for these kids to go to college and come back and teach here because they got excited about it. And Lisa's one that will get them pretty excited about it. Katie knows, but not all of you probably know, that at the Deer Creek Field Classic is what it's called, that we won first place, boys and girls. Now, that's impressive. We were about 6 seconds away from being state championship in girls cross country last year. We're in position to possibly win a boys and girls state championship this year if everybody stays healthy and we keep running the way we're running. But it was, hats off to Kelly, is an outstanding cross country coach. He knows how to do it, and so that's pretty fun. 21 teachers are going to be in classroom management workshop. I told you guys that earlier. I can't show you this picture because Tommy's technology sucks. But it's a picture of all of our FFA kids and NHS kids that went on Friday before Junklahoma and helped all the vendors unload all their stuff and get their booths set up, and then stayed till 6 o'clock the night on Saturday night, cleaning up and putting all this stuff back in the vendor's box. And they had wonderful, wonderful things to say about our kids, and I'm just proud of them. And then we also, the FFA float got 2nd place in the float parade contest, so that was pretty cool. So that concludes my report.
Great.
I'll just say, you were easy to spot on the side of the parade when you took your hat off. So I was like, oh, look, there's Dr. Eichelberger.
Did you do the dunk tank? Was there a dunk tank?
No, I was not in a dunk tank, and my back's too bad to be in a dunk tank. I'm going to go on record. My back is too bad.
All right, well, thank you. So we'll move on to item 14, adjournment.
I make a motion we adjourn.
A second.
And a motion by Jared and a second by Neil. Can we get a vote?
Neil.
Yes.
Jared.
Yes.
Derek, yes. Katie.
Yes.
Lane.
Yes, time is 9:31, 32.
Guys.